Have you ever wondered what SML characters will be like in the future? Just imagine all of their bad decisions compounding and where they'll end up. So today, we'll be speculating how some of the most popular characters' lives will be in the future, starting with all the future variants of characters we saw in SML movie The Old Machine. In this video, we saw Junior, Joseph, Cody, Jeffy, Chef Pee-Pee, and Brooklyn Guy turn old. But let's start off with Junior. Now, we could see Junior turn very old, and have memory loss, as he would call Joseph Joey, which is just insane.
Why did you call me?
Oh, our friend Joey ain't moving.
Oh, let me see here.
Along with this, Junior would also end up breaking his back, most likely due to him having back issues as an old person. However, besides these two traits, Junior seemed like an ordinary old person. But now comes the fun part, which is speculation. Now, as we all know, Junior's daily life mostly consists of doing literally nothing besides sitting on the red couch, eating, and hanging out with Joseph and Cody. Along with this, Junior is about to turn 18 years old, and he still is yet to have a real job in the SML universe besides a fake predicist, as he literally only got this job so he could touch Morgot Robbie's feet. So with all of this information we have on Junior's life, we can most likely guess that Junior might try to stay and live with Braxton, and essentially live the same life for decades to come. As in SML, we don't really see much character development, and overall, Junior is a pretty basic dude with a lack of life skills, so it's definitely not easy to predict. However, we have actually gotten glimpses from Junior himself in past videos on what he wants to do when he grows up. As in SML movie Junior's dream job, we see him say how his dream job is to be a streamer or a TikToker.
Well, you're almost 18, Junior. You should probably figure that out.
Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to be a famous streamer or a TikToker. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh yeah, we both get famous off of it.
Now, if we compare Junior as a person and his dream job with most people who try to become streamers, our depiction is pretty darn accurate, as a majority of the streamers out there who don't succeed usually live in their mom's basement and don't do much on a daily basis besides stream. So with all of this information and theories combined, we can easily say that Junior will be a grown man who still lives with his parents and tries to make ends meet by doing social media content. But again, let's all remember that this information is rumored at the end of the day, and a lot of it can easily change when Junior's 18th birthday video releases. However, Cody on the other hand has a very different outlook for his future, and he is way easier to predict when it comes to his future life. Now, as we all know, Cody is really smart. In fact, he is one of the smartest SML characters out of everybody, which alone can get you a really good future. This can be proved by seeing all of the inventions Cody has made in the past, such as a future machine, a Kuka cloning machine, and even a shrink ray. All of this knowledge has even helped Cody get a whole scholarship at Harvard in SML movie Cody Goes to College, which of course Junior and Joseph ruined.
Congratulations! You've been accepted into Harvard!
What, Harvard? Like the college?
Yes, Harvard, the college! Look, they've accepted you and they wanted you to enroll into their summer classes, so what do you say?
Well, yeah, of course, I'd love to go to Harvard.
Now, obviously, Cody will easily have another opportunity at Harvard in the future. However, Cody has also been really smart with his current life, which we have seen a lot of recently, starting off with the fact that he just turned 18, and was even looking at possible places to live in SML movie Junior Sells His House.
I was going on Zillow looking for an apartment.
Wait, what?
Why are you looking for an apartment?
What the hell for?
Are you homeless?
No, well, not yet. I turn 18 at the end of the month, and my parents are gonna kick me out of the house, so I gotta find an apartment so I'm not homeless.
However, just a few weeks later in Cody's 18th birthday, we would see that Cody ends up being able to stay at his parents' house, as Junior used the 4 years old logic on the cops. Therefore, he made his way back to his family's home. By putting this aside, the fact that Cody was already dedicating himself to finding a place to live just shows how good his mentality is. Along with this, we've already seen that Cody gets jobs in his teenage years, such as working at Subway and Red Lobster. Clearly, Cody wants himself to be successful, and he really does a good job at showing this. So with all of this, I can strongly say that Cody's future will be really good, and will consist of him having a good stable job with a nice home, and potentially starting a family once he finds an actual boyfriend, of course. So overall, Cody is probably the one who's most likely to have a successful future out of the friend group, which brings us to the third third friend, which is none other than my boy Joseph. Now, Joseph has been homeless for almost 10 years now, as his mom ran away on him during Halloween of 2016. And ever since then, Joseph has lived on the streets and mostly hangs out at Junior's house, and really hasn't done much to contribute to his future, such as getting a job or hustling in any way. But of course, like anyone else in the world, Joseph does have a dream for a future, which is actually being an NBA player due to his deep love of basketball.
Joseph, what do you want to do?
Ooh, I'm gonna be a famous NBA player. I'm gonna be LeBron Jr.
Yeah, you can be the next LeBron.
Yeah.
Now, this dream is one that obviously many people have, and honestly, Joseph is most likely not going to achieve this goal, as he actually isn't good at basketball whatsoever. As we saw in SML movie, Joseph gets adopted.
I'm right here. What's up? What's up? Oh.
So with all of these facts in consideration, it's very likely that Joseph will stay homeless for a long time once he becomes an adult. Or he actually locks in and goes from the ground up by actually getting a job and making a living for himself, as he won't be able to basically live at Junior's house forever, especially if Junior also locks in and gets a family of his own. But honestly, the homeless route is way more likely, as in SML movie The Old Machine, we saw Joseph as an old person, and it was revealed that he was in a wheelchair and his jaw was all messed up due to chewing tobacco.
Oh, Joseph, Jesus Christ.
What happened to Joseph's bottom jaw?
I think the old machine predicted Joseph was gonna start chewing tobacco, so it took his bottom jaw.
Heart attack!
So it's either he had an insane tobacco addiction once he got his feet on the ground and became successful, or he got into that addiction while he was homeless. But let's be honest, the homeless route is way more likely, as a lot of homeless people will suffer with the same sort of addiction. So unfortunately for Joseph, he is most likely gonna have a rough adulthood. Poor Joseph. However, a more confusing character to predict their future is none other than Jeffy himself. Now, out of the 4 friends in the SML friend group, Jeffy is the oldest out of all of them, being 21 years old. So we've already seen about 3 of his adult years so far, which helps us theorize a bit more. And as we all know, Jeffy turned 21 a few months ago, and he ended up winning $2.4 million at the casino.
Black 20 again.
Black 20! Oh, I'm chugging beer out of my Ain't no fucking way! $2.4 million! Get the fuck out! Let's go to the strip club! Yes!
Which means that he definitely at least has some money lying around somewhere, which is always good to know. Along with this, Jeffy always finds some stupid way to make money, and ends up simply losing it. So if Jeffy were to actually lock in, he would potentially have some decent bread in the future. But honestly, Jeffy is not likely to move out of Marvin's house and actually get his own job and place to live, as obviously Jeffy isn't the smartest guy out there, and does stupid things all the time. And not to mention, he's stuck in the 5th grade at 21 years old. And again, I can prove my theory even more with the Old Machine video, as in the video, we can still see Jeffy pooping his pants and acting absolutely stupid.
Cody!
Ah, Junior.
I pooped.
Oh.
Call a doctor.
Okay, I gotta call a doctor.
Is that my grandson?
No, it's Pappy.
So with all of this, we can see it severely unlikely that Jeffy will have a normal and successful future, and will most likely leech off Marvin still, especially since Marvin and Rose literally have not cared about Jeffy or what he does in recent times. But now that we got the man-child out of the way, let's talk about some of the actual adults in SML, starting off with Brooklyn Guy himself. Now, as we all know, Brooklyn Guy works basically every single job in the SML universe, and has an annoying wife named Karen along with his daughter Penelope. And according to the SML wiki, Brooklyn Guy is 48 years old, which means in just 2 years he'll turn 50. So yeah, we've already seen a lot of Brooklyn Guy's life already. So now all we really have to do is predict what he'll be doing as a senior citizen. And thanks to the handy dandy Old Machine video, we've already got a decent answer to that. In the video, we see that Brooklyn Guy still is working all of his jobs as an old man, which is honestly really impressive. However, we do get the confirmation that he does eventually retire. And we even hear how Karen was wanting to leave Brooklyn Guy in the future, which is honestly crazy, as it's usually Brookie who wants to leave her.
Oh, that's good.
Mom, what are you gonna do now that you're retired?
I'll probably go home, show my wife my wrinkly balls. Maybe that'll make her leave me for good this time.
Clearly, Brooklyn Guy is having a future life on the normal side, which is nice to see as most characters we've gone over so far have some really weird futures. But now, let's look at Chef Pee Pee in the future. Now, as we all know by now, Chef Pee Pee literally does anything for Braxton at this point, and honestly can't escape him, which leads us to the more simple, and most likely the true theory for Chef Pee Pee's future, which is that he's gonna be stuck with Braxton forever, which clearly isn't a good ending by any means. But at least Chef Pee Pee will have an actual place to live in this scenario and won't be homeless, along with the fact that Chef Pee Pee likes bingo?
Hey,
Bingo! I want to play bingo. I want to play bingo. Bingo.
Well, that was the more likely scenario. But now let's talk about the singular theory scenario, which is how Chef Pee Pee actually ends up escaping from Braxton's horrible environment and finds an actual chef job that pays him actual money and lives a relatively normal life and starts a family, as Chef Pee Pee is actually only 36 years old, so he's still relatively young. However, this scenario is most likely not accurate, as Chef Pee Pee still does not know how to cook, so nobody else but Braxton would tolerate his cooking. But now let's look at Toad, or now known as Little T, I guess, but for the sake of everyone, I'll keep calling him Toad. Anyways, we would see the future version of Toad in SML movie Bowser Jr. Goes to the Future. In this video, we see a 56-year-old version of Toad and find out that he had over 6 heart attacks. Yes, 6. And the reason for this was because his diet solely consisted of milk and cookies for 50 years straight, which honestly makes sense as he made a whole song about milk and cookies.
Yeah, I've been eating nothing but milk and cookies.
Yeah, for 50 straight years. He's had 6 heart attacks.
With 6 heart attacks?
Now, this version of Toad may be accurate, as in the video, the characters chose what they wanted to be as their future selves, to play along with the prank, which means that Toad most likely thinks that he'll be like this in the future, hence why he acted like this. And as you all know, the person you become, you want to be. So there's definitely a high chance that Toad will grow up to be an unhealthy man who only eats milk and cookies. Hell, he might even be Santa Claus. However, let's talk about another scenario, which is a full-on theory. And the theory in question is that Toad will grow up to be a successful pimp. Now, as we all know, in the real world, especially in places like Las Vegas, there are many pimps out there who run not-so-legal businesses with women, and obviously end up making insane money off of it. And in recent times, we've actually seen Toad as a pimp, such an SML movie Chef Pee Pee's girlfriend.
But it sounds like a personal issue. You know me, Lil T is a pimp. I stay with some hoes. I can lend you one if you want.
You really could? You would lend me one of your hoes for the night?
Not only can Toad be a pimp and live a successful, illegal life full of shame, but he can also be a full-on mainstream rapper in the SML universe, as his current rap career is already big enough. And honestly, a lot of people in the SML universe already like his music, so he can definitely do that. But overall, Toad's future life ahead of him is looking really good as of now, and is definitely by far one of the coolest. However, now let's talk about some characters we haven't really seen future versions of. However, we're gonna make some good theories on what their future life will truly look like, starting off with the rich scumbag of SML himself, Mr. Goodman. Now, as we all know, Goodman already has an insane life, being insanely rich and owning basically anything. He owns a bunch of properties, including Marvin's house, Jimmy John's, Walmart, Domino's, Goodman Bank and Trust, and so much more. However, Goodman's situation here is a bit different, as he is the oldest character in this video, being around 66 years old, which means that he's already lived out a lot of his life, so there really isn't much to predict. But what we can predict is that Goodman will most likely expand his empire every few years, as we always find out that Goodman is an owner of something new, which means that Goodman will just get even richer and become more of a scumbag, which obviously isn't a good thing for Marvin, and from what it looks like, Goodman will probably end up dying rich, which will most likely leave his billions to Richard and Benjamin. However, while that theory is most likely going to happen, now let's make a more fun theory, which is how in a few years, karma will really hit Goodman due to being such a piece of shit to everyone. And due to that, Goodman will lose everything, whether it's a huge lawsuit or some stupid bet or investment that costs him everything. Now, the reason why this theory is in this video is because we've already seen Goodman stupidly lose his money before, such as in SML movie The Bet, where he lost everything in such a stupid way, which was honestly karma.
Well, yeah, so what are you gonna do now? You lost all your money. I don't know, Mario. I'm broke as fuck. I know, I'm sorry. No. Don't cry.
And this wasn't the only time Goodman bet on stupid stuff, as in SML movie The Contract, Goodman kept betting that Marvin would destroy a contract under a specific amount of time, and Goodman even admits at one point that he likes betting on stupid stuff.
Listen, we're both rich assholes, so we like to bet on stupid things. And so I bet $50 million that you would destroy that contract within 10 minutes.
So taking all of this into consideration shows that Goodman is also very likely to lose everything. And honestly, it will be deserved if he does. But there's no better time than now than to talk about one of Goodman's biggest ops, Marvin. Now, Marvin's theory won't really be that complicated, as honestly, Marvin's life is quite the definition of a bum. We see in literally every video that Marvin's in, he just sits on the red couch with Rose 95% of the time, miserably failing every time he tries to get an actual job, with him not being able to pay any of his bills. With all of this in mind, we can definitely theorize that Marvin's future will consist of him rotting on the couch, eventually to his death, as according to the SML wiki, Marvin is 40 years old, which if you're being that much of a bum at 40, there truly isn't much hope for a future. And of course, the more time passes, the less he will care about Jeffy, or anything really. And there will be even more of a chance of Rose divorcing him if she eventually gets tired of him, which would make a lot of sense. So yeah, it's clear that Marvin is gonna have it real bad in the future. And he also might end up on 600 Pound Life, but I don't know, that's more of a theory. But those were all of the main SML characters' potential lives in the future. If you want to learn more about SML, make sure to click the video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it.